The conflict between China and Taiwan is without question one of the most dangerous, most watched, and most consequential geopolitical flashpoints in the entire world today, a crisis that has been building for more than 7 decades, and which in the year 2026 has reached a level of tension, military activity, and global strategic concern that experts, governments, and international institutions are treating with the utmost urgency. And to truly understand the latest situation, it is essential to first understand the deep historical roots of this confrontation, which go back to 1949 when the Chinese Civil War between the communist forces of Mao Zedong and the nationalist forces of Chiang Kai-shek ended with the communists winning control of the Chinese mainland and establishing the People's Republic of China, while the defeated nationalists retreated to the island of Taiwan, located about 180 kilometers off the southeastern coast of mainland China, and established the Republic of China government there. And ever since that moment, the People's Republic of China in Beijing has claimed Taiwan as an integral part of its sovereign territory, insisting that the island is a rogue province that must eventually be reunified with the mainland, while Taiwan has functioned for over 70 years as a fully self-governing democratic society with its own elected government, its own military, its own passport, its own currency, and its own foreign relations, creating a fundamental political contradiction that has never been resolved and which sits at the very heart of one of the world's most explosive potential conflicts. And the legal framework that has allowed this contradiction to remain unresolved for decades is known as the One China policy, under which the United States and most other major nations officially recognize the People's Republic of China as the sole legitimate government of China, while simultaneously maintaining unofficial but substantive relations with Taiwan, a deliberately ambiguous arrangement that has kept the peace but satisfied no one, and which is now under enormous strain as China's military power has grown to a level where Beijing increasingly believes it has the capability to settle the Taiwan question by force if it chooses to do so. The military dimension of the China-Taiwan confrontation has intensified dramatically in recent years and reached alarming new levels in 2025 and 2026, with China conducting a series of large-scale military exercises around Taiwan that analysts describe as the most serious rehearsals for a potential blockade or invasion ever conducted. And the most significant of these was the exercise named Justice Mission 2025, conducted on December 29th and 30th of 2025, in which the People's Liberation Army deployed warships, submarines, aircraft, and ballistic missile units to completely encircle Taiwan in a massive simulated blockade operation that lasted 10 hours and involved live-fire drills, the largest such exercises China had ever conducted around the island up to that point. With over 100 Chinese military aircraft detected operating around Taiwan during the exercise, and according to the Institute for the Study of War, this exercise was designed not merely as a political signal, but as a genuine operational rehearsal to test and refine China's ability to physically blockade Taiwan and cut it off from external military assistance. And equally alarming is the fact that in 2025 alone, China conducted 2 separate large-scale military exercises around Taiwan, Straight Thunder 2025A and Justice Mission 2025, demonstrating a pattern of escalating pressure that has left Taiwan's military commanders and Western defense analysts deeply concerned. And on top of these formal exercises, Reuters reported on February 26, 2026, that Chinese military drones have been conducting regular surveillance flights over the South China Sea while deliberately transmitting false transponder signals to disguise their true positions and identities, a tactic that analysts believe is part of China's preparation for a potential military operation against Taiwan. And meanwhile, on the ground inside Taiwan itself, Chinese cognitive warfare and disinformation operations have intensified sharply, with Taiwan's National Security Bureau reporting in early 2026 that China had significantly escalated its use of fake news websites, social media manipulation, and deepfake technology to spread disinformation designed to demoralize the Taiwanese public, undermine confidence in the government, and sow division within Taiwanese society. And a Chinese vessel was reportedly found to have infiltrated Taiwanese waters near New Taipei and was broadcasting spoofed navigation signals as part of what the Institute for the Study of War described as a cognitive warfare effort to degrade Taiwan's situational awareness, representing a deeply troubling escalation of China's non-military tools of coercion against the island. The Taiwan's economic importance to the rest of the world adds a dimension to this crisis that makes it uniquely critical for the entire global economy and not just a regional security issue, because Taiwan is the world's most important manufacturer of advanced semiconductor chips, the tiny but extraordinarily complex electronic components that are essential to virtually every piece of modern technology, from smartphones and laptops to fighter jets, artificial intelligence systems, electric vehicles, and military weapons systems. And Taiwan's TSMC, the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, alone produces approximately 78% of the world's most advanced chips, a concentration of such critical industrial capacity on a single small island that the New York Times described on February 24, 2026, as a potential looming disaster for global technology supply chains if the island were ever to fall under Chinese control or be disrupted by military conflict. And Taiwan's strategic importance was underscored by the extraordinary performance of its economy in 2025, when Taiwan recorded economic growth of 8.6%, the fastest rate in 15 years, turbocharged by an explosion in AI-related chip exports, with Taiwan's total exports jumping nearly 35% year-on-year as global demand for AI hardware sent orders to Taiwanese semiconductor factories surging to record levels, meaning that any military conflict involving Taiwan would not merely be a regional tragedy, but a catastrophe for the entire global economy, disrupting the supply of chips that every major industry in the world depends upon. On the international response front, the situation in early 2026 is characterized by a complex and deeply concerning mix of military preparations, diplomatic uncertainties, and strategic realignments that are reshaping the security architecture of the entire Indo-Pacific region. And perhaps the most dramatic development on this front came on February 25th and 26, 2026, when Japan, Taiwan's closest geographic neighbor, with its westernmost island of Yonaguni lying just 111 kilometers from the Taiwanese coast, announced that it would deploy surface-to-air missile systems on Yonaguni Island, with Japanese Defense Minister Shinjiro Koizumi confirming that Type 03 medium-range surface-to-air guided missiles capable of shooting down aircraft and ballistic missiles would be stationed at Camp Yonaguni by March 2031, a decision that Al Jazeera reported has been described by analysts as potentially deepening regional tensions with China, but which Japan justified as necessary to strengthen early warning and deterrence measures in the face of China's growing military assertiveness, and China immediately warned that any foreign attempt to support Taiwan would be crushed, demonstrating the extreme sensitivity Beijing attaches to any military moves near the island. And the United States, meanwhile, found itself in an unusually complex and controversial position regarding Taiwan in early 2026, with the administration of President Donald Trump simultaneously trying to maintain Taiwan's security while also pursuing a major trade deal with China. And the Wall Street Journal reported that a major U.S. arms sales package for Taiwan, potentially worth billions of dollars, had been placed in limbo due to pressure from Chinese leader Xi Jinping, who had made clear his opposition to the sale, while Trump himself acknowledged in February 2026 that he had been consulting with Xi about the pending Taiwan arms deal ahead of a planned visit to Beijing, a remark that PBS NewsHour noted may have violated the so-called Six Assurances, a set of non-binding but long-standing U.S. policy principles that include a commitment not to consult China before arms sales to Taiwan. And while the White House reiterated that U.S. policy toward Taiwan had not changed, the uncertainty injected into Washington's commitments to Taipei caused significant alarm among Taiwan's government and among America's other allies in the region. And from 2015 to 2025, the United States had already notified Congress of more than $39 billion in foreign military sales to Taiwan, with Taiwan itself increasing its defense budget to approximately 2.5% of GDP in 2024, with President Lai Ching-te pledging to raise it to 3% of GDP by 2026 and 5% by 2030, and a special defense budget of $40 billion new Taiwan dollars covering the period from 2026 to 2033 was under debate in Taiwan's legislature, reflecting the island's recognition that it must dramatically accelerate its own defense preparations. The question of whether China will actually attempt a military invasion or blockade of Taiwan in 2026 or the near future has become one of the most intensely debated questions in global strategic analysis, with experts and institutions offering deeply divergent assessments, and the Australian Strategic Policy Institute published an analysis in early 2026 arguing that 2026 is not the year for a Chinese invasion, citing Xi Jinping's assessment that the military, economic, and diplomatic costs and risks of an invasion remain too high, while Foreign Policy magazine argued on February 25, 2026, that thanks to Trump, Xi has time on his side with Taiwan, suggesting that China's short-term invasion risk has paradoxically decreased because Trump's more transactional approach to the U.S.-Taiwan relationship and his focus on a trade deal with China means Xi sees less urgency to act militarily when political and economic pressure may achieve his goals more cheaply, while war on the Rocks published a deeply alarming analysis on February 2026, arguing that deterrence won't fail in the Taiwan Strait. It will be bypassed, meaning that rather than a dramatic military invasion, China may use subtler methods including blockades, cyber attacks, cognitive warfare, economic coercion, and incremental military encroachments to gradually tighten its grip on Taiwan without ever triggering a formal military response. And a new report published in February 2026 argued that Taiwan should develop a massive drone swarm capability, an asymmetric hellscape, to blunt any potential Chinese invasion by overwhelming China's more expensive conventional military systems with affordable, mass-produced autonomous weapons, reflecting the growing recognition that Taiwan's traditional military approach needs to be fundamentally transformed to match the evolving nature of Chinese military power. And the Economist Intelligence Unit noted in its 2026 operational risk outlook that Chinese military drills have been migrating closer to Taiwan's shores, pointing to a growing risk of future exercises being used as cover for an actual military operation. And the overall picture that emerges from all available evidence and expert analysis as of February 2026 is one of a situation that is more dangerous, more militarized, and more diplomatically uncertain than at any point in recent decades, a crisis in which Taiwan, backed by the United States and increasingly by Japan and other democratic allies, faces a China that is more militarily capable, more politically determined, and more strategically confident than ever before, making the Taiwan Strait the single most dangerous potential flashpoint for a great power conflict in the world today, with consequences for global peace, global technology supply chains, and the future of the international order that would be felt in every corner of the earth if this confrontation were ever to cross the line from cold confrontation into hot war.